All right. Welcome to another edition of Chicago Ballers Union, Chicago edition. I'm here with my co-host, JRizzo from Rizzo Rant. Ain't too much to talk about Chicago sports. The Bears are 4-1. The Blackhawks made some offseason moves. The NBA season is finally over. The WNBA season's over. Baseball is still going. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. How was your week, Rizzo?
It's good, man. It's good, especially after Thursday. We haven't got to talk about it yet. We got to talk about the Bears. They won. They beat the goat finally.
Yes, yes, they beat Tom Brady and the Bucks. Um, they had a lot of help from the referees. Shout out to the refs. Saying over 100 yards in penalties. We appreciate it. There was a couple of calls that I didn't think that was ours, but they gave it to us. So again, game ball goes to the referees for me.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that the calls didn't help. Bucks had 11 penalties for like over 100 yards, killed and stalled a bunch of their drives. We had a couple penalties that helped some of our offensive drives. But I mean, I don't want to harp too much on that. I want to talk about some of the good stuff. Khalil Mack finally looked like Khalil Mack again, just disrupting every play in that second half, in my opinion. Getting back there, killing the run game, getting pressure on Tom, frustrating Tom when you hit him. So that is always good. And man, he just made Worf's a meme instantly when he just tossed him like a rag doll.
Oh yeah, yeah, he definitely dominated, and that's what he's supposed to do. That's what he gets paid to do, especially against a rookie. You know what I'm saying? He's supposed to take advantage of the situation. He had a great game. He definitely got into Tom's head. Tom Brady may or may not have a concussion because he obviously forgot what down it was. Towards
Yeah,
the end of the game.
that was that was weird. I'm not gonna lie. Like I know sometimes you got the head coach talking to you, and then you got the coordinator talking to you, and you're thinking it's one down, and you're not keeping track, but you're listening to one of them in your earpiece, and you're looking at one of them on the thing. But I think it's kind of funny that he didn't just maybe look at the sticks, because the sticks always have it on there. I don't know. It's hard for me to like say that he really thought it was fourth down, or he was just saying that because he threw just even if it wasn't fourth down, I don't know what he was doing on that third down play. Linebacker was all over Brait on that one, so I don't know. It was definitely a weird game. It's kind of been how Bears games have been going this year. Not pretty, not at all. And even in that first half, when it got 13-0, I was just like, "Whoa, what's going on?" I mean, the defense was getting tore up. The offense could do nothing. But as soon as that 13-0 hit, the defense just turned it on, only allowed 6 points after that. That's one thing I really like to see. And I love seeing that the Bears are still able to come back, whoever's in there. Like Nick Foles didn't look great, but he made big plays when he had to. That big throw to Montgomery, it was very nice. And that set up the kicker. And our kicker, he made a field goal to win a game. So maybe we do have a kicker.
Right, right, right. Yeah, the kicker was clutch. I'll give you that. Nick Foles showed up. Well, I just think this Bears offense only shows up in the fourth quarter because they're non-existent in the third quarter, and they're non-existent in the red zone. Is that it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, I'm thinking that's falling more on coaching. Like, are they making the proper adjustment in time, or they just have a scripted game plan and they after the third quarter they figure out like, okay, our scripted game plan ain't working anymore. Because it doesn't matter if it was Trubisky or Nick Foles, the offense looks the same, you know what I'm saying, until the fourth quarter, until they have like some type of urgency, then they perform. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Every third quarter, Bears offense sucks. Doesn't matter who's back there calling the plays. And we're not gonna continue to win games if we cannot score in the red zone. We're constantly relying on kickers.
No, I definitely agree. You can't keep winning games and you come out in the third quarter to start a second half and you just look awful. So, and we've scored 0 points, I'm pretty sure, for the whole season in the third quarter right now, which shocks me that we're 4-1 and that's happened. So I don't know if it's something that's going on at halftime, if Nagy's giving bad halftime speeches or whatever they're doing at halftime needs to switch for the next game, because when they come out in that third quarter, obviously the defense was still solid, but the offense just looks so flat in that third quarter that kind of kills you, and it makes you have to have a comeback fourth quarter a lot of the times if you're down or if you gave up points in the third quarter. Can't keep having quarters consistently that you're not scoring points, especially with an offense that doesn't have a whole lot of playmakers that the Bears do. Got Allen Robinson. You're hoping Montgomery starts getting a little bit more touches. That's another thing that they need to do. I understand that the run game did not look good when they were running, but he's doing that same thing again, man. At the beginning of the season, the first couple games, he was trying to mix it in a little bit better, but now he's kicking it quick and fast. And when you become a one-sided team that's just throwing, makes it a lot easier on the defense.
Yes, yes, that is true. Big shout out to the Bears defense. They're probably one of the they make the other teams look worse in the red zone than our own team. They probably got the best red zone defense in all NFL because they stop the Colts with their playmakers, and that should be a high-powered offense. And they stop Tom Brady, even though Goodwin wasn't there and Fournette wasn't in the game, but they still had Kukowski, they still had Bray. They didn't have O.J. Howard, but they still got Mike Evans, who's just a red zone demon. And we only held them to one touchdown. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And they had countless opportunities in the red zone. So that's great accomplishment for that Bears defense.
No, the defense was definitely the star, and as it should be. It's the best thing we have on our team. When they're playing at their best, they're as good as any defense in the league, and they can shut down anybody. But I do want to see them. They have these lapses like in that first half where it went 13 zip. They didn't look right. It wasn't until that 13 zip happened, and then you had Fuller get that fumble, kind of got everybody going. But until that point, the defense looked a little flat too and didn't look like they were into the game. So I need to see them from start to finish, because some of these games you're going to have to play all four quarters. We have not played all four quarters in one game yet, albeit we're 4-1, which is a good record, but we haven't looked that great. We're going to start playing some teams that you can't have these mistakes and these lapses in games where you go long stretches where the defense is bad and then the offense is bad, and then one of them turns it on or the other one. We got to be on all the time coming up. I mean, this next game we should win against Carolina. They're playing hot. I'll say that. They've won 3 in a row. But it's just looking on paper, I think our defense should be able to shut them down. Although I thought the same thing last year when Teddy Bridgewater came in here with New Orleans and they gave us a whooping. So we shall see. But you got to tighten up. Got to play 4 quarters.
Right. Yeah, and for the defense, and until that call was overturned as a fumble, and the recovery until the defense woke up and started kicking it into high gear. Seems like the team in general has a motivation issue. Like they need something to bounce the ball to bounce their way, or something to happen to go their way for them to turn it on, and that's not good. They should already have that in there, or should already be coaching them. Like you know how I feel about Nagy, and I feel like Nagy is not the coach for us. I feel like we have the talent to win the Super Bowl if we have the right coaching staff.
I mean, tough for me to say. I thought that last year, we had pretty much majority of it coming back this year. I think we have a Super Bowl defense. I don't know if I trust the offense. The wideouts are a little too inconsistent for me, other than Allen Robinson. And until David Montgomery shows me that he can be a 3-down back, now it might just be because Nagy's holding him back and cuts him off as soon as he has one bad game. But until I can see a more consistency on this offense, and even Nick Foles or Mitch, whoever's been in there, quarterback play hasn't been consistent enough for me to say, like, this is 100% a Super Bowl team. Now, I'm not going to say that Nagy's doing the best job either. He definitely has made some mistakes, and I think he needs to get better too. I think someone needs to have a talk with him and let him know, like, dude, you can't just abandon stuff so fast, and that goes on offense and on defense. Like, stop kicking stuff as soon as something goes wrong, because it's not going to be perfect in the NFL, but that doesn't mean you just kick it to the curb and you go away from it.
Right, right. Yeah, and talk about why A-Rob is a beast. Saying he's like top five receiver and stats wise is right now in the NFL. Mooney, I don't know why Mooney's not starting yet. The
I
rookie.
I have to agree with you after what I saw from Miller on Thursday. I keep hoping because I like the kid. I think he has a lot of talent. I thought he could be really good. Thought he was going to be a fantastic slot receiver in the NFL. He looked like he had good speed. He looked like he could get downfield. Looked like he ran routes well. But man, he just never, never, ever has just taken that game to that next level. It's just been too many misses, too many drop balls, too many routes not run fully through. But Mooney, what I saw, yeah, I agree with you. I think he's outplayed Miller in at least 3 out of the four games right now.
Yeah.
So I do think he should get some more snaps. And Nick definitely missed him on that touchdown. He made a great play to get that corner bite on that, and he had it. He had a walk-in touchdown, and Nick missed him. So I'm hoping maybe too, if you can get him a little bit more snaps, those two can get working out a little bit better. Then you might have something, because he definitely looks like he should be the number 2, or he should stay in the slot if Anthony Miller can't figure it out. But yeah, it's sad because I really like Miller. I actually thought that was a good pick by Pace, but just hasn't worked out.
Yeah, no, I still think Miller's a good pick. He's just having a lot of mental breakdowns. And then that goes back to a question I posed back a while back was, has any player developed under Nagy? Saying? So like if we had a different coach or, saying the right coach, I think we will see Miller's talent flourish, saying? I also think Trubisky will be obviously Trubisky's not great and never will be great. But I also believe you could win a Super Bowl with Trubisky and he could be good under the right system. And the way Nagy runs his system is not meant for Trubisky at all.
Right. One other thing I just want to say, and I'll say it right now. It could still come to fruition that we were right, but Jimmy Graham is playing well enough to what we paid him for. Even though I didn't like the contract, he is living up to what we paid him for. He's got 4 or 5 touchdowns, and he looks a little bit more like the older Jimmy Graham that was going up and making plays and making contested catches. That catch in the end zone was fantastic. So if we're gonna get that from Graham, that could really help in the red zone with those woes that we've been having, because he's a red zone monster, and then you still got A-Rob. And like I said, if they can get Montgomery going from what I've seen in the little burst here and there, doesn't help that the line has been super inconsistent as well. So the line play more than anything, I think, is what is making the run game bad. But you can't abandon it even if your line's playing bad. You got to have the balance because, again, Nick Foles, Mitch Trubisky, I don't care who's in at quarterback, we don't have the type of team that can pull off like a Russell Wilson or like a Dallas where they pass the ball 50 times. We can't do that. That's just not how this team is set up.
Right. I think that's what Nagy wants to do. And then, after the year seeing Nagy, obviously Nagy is not the coach to develop players. He needs certain players to fit his system. He cannot adapt to the players. He cannot change his scheme or set up his scheme to play the strengths of his players. So that's why we've seen Jimmy Graham looking good now, because he's a veteran player. And, saying it's like Nagy just needs veteran players that really knows how to play football instead of teaching young, talented players how to play football. So that's why the Trubisky thing is never going to work. Shoot, if we had Mahomes, it was never going to work. It didn't matter who your quarterback was going to be, because Nagy don't develop players.
I don't even want to get into the whole Mahomes and Deshaun Watson thing. That's just so they made their Ryan Pace made the bed, and that's what we got. We got Mitch.
Yeah.
And you were supposed to develop him, and you didn't. So I can't say what would have happened or not with Deshaun or Pat if we would have taken one of them. But, yeah, I mean, right now I agree with you. I haven't seen him. Like, there's nothing I can point out that's like, yeah, that guy got developed under Matt Nagy, and he's gotten better.
Yeah, and that falls on Ryan Pace as well too. So you're saying as much you want to harp him for Mitch Trubisky, you're saying not giving him. It's like we had Jay Cutler, great young talented quarterback at the time, and then we surround him with no talent or with no help, and wonder why he underperformed. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
man, no talent, no help, and then also just terrible offensive coordinators until you got Adam Gase. Adam Gase was the only good one. Now he's like the worst coach in the NFL. I'm not even gonna lie about that. That dude should have stayed as a offensive coordinator, but I don't even know if I want him as a coordinator anymore. Something is wrong with that dude. He should be
No,
the net.
nothing. Yeah,
Something is wrong with him.
nothing's wrong with Adam Gase. Adam Gase and Matt Nagy has the same issue. They need players to fit them systems because they don't know how to develop players. Reason why, like Adam Gase had Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler was already knew how to play quarterback in the NFL. Adam Gase had Peyton Manning. He already knew how to play quarterback in the NFL. So it made it easy for him because it's like, okay, Adam Gase is like, this is what I want to do. And they already know how to do it because they know how to play in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you would give, like Adam Gase got so-called his great talent in Sam Darnold, and shoot, Sam Darnold's out there he ain't even playing anymore. You know what I'm saying? They're leaving him out there to die in New York.
I don't know, man. Something's up. Like just his interviews, like his whole attitude had changed from when he was a coordinator. I feel. I don't know if it was just like him getting that power trip or whatever, but more than anything, that's what I'm saying. Like his attitude changed. But as a coordinator, he got the best out of Jay, had his best season with him, and you finally got to see, like, man, that's what we could have had the whole time. And then obviously he leaves because he got a head coaching job, and then Jay wasn't bad the next year, but he didn't look like he did when we was Gase, which he's never got to keep an offensive coordinator for longer than like a season because for one, the other one sucked, so they fired him immediately. Or if one was good, like Adam Gase, he left immediately because he got a head coaching job. So Cutler had a lot of things that didn't go his way that I feel people don't realize if they ever want to give Jay Cutler any bad publicity or anything like that or just talk bad about him. It's like you don't realize all the stuff that he had to go through. Not to mention, he still put up the best numbers for any Bears quarterback of all time if you go look at him as well. But that's beyond the point. Yes, you could see that you could see when he got the coaching and he got some development people in there, sky's the limit. And then sometimes that happens. You just get put in the right system. You know, some guys it doesn't matter. You can put in anything, you know, but obviously some guys they need that right coach at that right time.
Yep, most definitely. Yep. And also, Jay Cutler's numbers is as good or better than Hall of Famer Troy Aikman.
Yeah, Troy Aikman's got all them rings.
Yeah. They,
The rings talk a little bit.
they had a Hall of Fame team on the roster. So
Hey, so did Terry Bradshaw, but he still had 4 rings.
yeah.
Yes, Terry, he'll tell you the same thing. I don't care. Look at my rings.
Yep. So does Robert Horry and all of them.
Oh,
Yep.
Robert Ory, man. He's like one of the best 6 men ever. I'd take Big Shot Bob on my team any day. Because one, I know I can count on him in the fourth quarter. And two, he's a great locker room guy.
Yep. Moving right along, the Blackhawks made some off-season moves. They did not re-sign Crawford. So it's definitely an end of an era. It's definitely an end of a dynasty. Any of the hope we had of the early 2010s dynasty surviving is gone now.
I mean, it's not that the dynasty's dying. I mean, it's been 10 years. Let's start there. And then two, Crawford had injuries, man, and the injuries had taken a toll on him. And I love the guy to death. He's one of my favorite goalies that ever played for the Hawks, probably right behind Belfour. But at the same time, this is just, it's the business side for this one. It's not like they didn't want to keep Crawford, but they know they had to move forward. Crawford was the only reason that they won their one playoff series, and the only one that was keeping them alive against the Knights, I'll say. But at the same point, he's a little bit older. He's on the downside of his career. He got us 2 Stanley Cups, you know. We were in the playoffs every year. One of the best goaltenders. And the thing that people love about Corey was his attitude, man. He was a Chicago attitude guy. Like, He lived and breathed like what Chicago people love to see out of their sports icons. And it was great for us. But at the same point, I don't think the move was wrong. I would love to see him stay here, but he would have been a backup goalie. I don't think he was even going to be starting. They were starting the other guy towards the end of the season, and it wasn't until the playoffs came and they had that little break in between that Corey got fully healthy, and they just decided to let him go because they knew they were going to not sign him. I think it was more like a, here you go, Corey, we're going to let you end this way with this team. But yeah, I mean, love the guy. He was amazing for us. We got 3 Stanley Cups in 5 years. He wasn't there for the first one, but he got us those last 2. But they drafted a goalie too, and they have to look to developing now. Like that whole core that we saw when the Hawks were good and everybody was, this was a Hawks town really for that good 5-year span. They were the hottest thing in the city. But that whole core, it's gotten older. You got to rebuild. You got to retool. That's just what happens in sports. I mean, it's nice that we still have Kane and he's still producing, and Taves kind of had a bounce back season. But this is what you have to do in sports. And I'm glad that he's going to go somewhere because I think he did get signed actually.
Yeah, he already got signed. 2-year contract already.
So I'm glad he's going to get to go play hockey some more because he's a hockey guy and he wants to go play. And I hope the best for him. And then the Brandon Saad trade, it's a little weird. I mean, I know they're doing it more for money than anything, but you had just gotten him back after you had traded him away. And then now after this season, you're trading him. I sort of get it because a lot of their young players, I mean, they had one of the top rookie goal scorers this year. And you don't really need Saad as much as you need defenders. And I saw that they traded him for 2 defenders. They weren't any defenders I've heard of, so it's young guys that they have to develop, but it's good that they're starting to realize, okay, our defense sucks, and that's a big reason why we're losing. We can score goals, but we got to get some defenders. So if you're going to give away Saad, the young talent that they got on the offensive side, I'm okay with it, even though Saad, he's another guy. He was fantastic for us in the playoffs. I love him, but you got to do this at times,
Right, yeah. I see them largely behind Saad, but still the Crawford one hurts. He's obviously a fan favorite, a Chicago icon. He's great, like you said, great in the locker room. And we got a young goalie, and who better to be the mentor for that young goalie than Crawford? You know what I'm saying? I'll just kept him just for that purpose alone.
Yeah, but they had a goalie that they were already playing that I think they re-signed right after Crawford. They let him go. So they were already playing a different starting goalie at the end of the year, and he's going to be the guy that's going to teach him now, which I think is fine because he's a little bit younger, and it'll give the young guy some time too. It would have been nice to keep him, but I just don't think you can keep both of them. I think he wants to go start somewhere, it seems like, for Crawford, and he knows he would have been a backup here. So I think, one, it's the Hawks being nice, letting him go, hey, you can go play on another team rather than just sitting and being a backup goalie here. But it's just a business thing, man. That's all this move was. Business.
Right. Yeah. Moving along, NBA season's finally over. The Lakers won. The Miami Heat put up a good fight. That last game they just look exhausted. I don't know why they put in Dragic in the game. He looked like half of himself.
Yeah, that was strange to me. One, it was strange that they kept never ruling him out. Since the first game when he went out, they said he had plantar fasciitis and stuff like that. And that's just something that's so painful to play on that they should have just went with the young core that they were doing well with and just let Dragic kind of ride it out and come back next year if he still wanted to play. I know that they're thinking it might be one of his last years. He's a little bit older. But at the same time, you guys had played so well without him that it was a very strange move.
Yep. I also wish Bam never got hurt because the way he was playing AD this game where they put AD at center, that was amazing. It'll definitely been a different series. I still think the Lakers were going to win. They had 4 Hall of Famers. Playoff Rondo was in full effect. That guy was killing tonight.
Yeah, playoff Rondo was in full effect. I saw that. And it's funny to me because I've had some people say that this Lakers team, is as bad as some of those other teams that LeBron bought. And I was like,
How?
what? How? Dwight Howard's going to be a Hall of Famer. Rajon Rondo, if he's not a Hall of Famer, he's a cusp Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Fame playoff player regardless. Then you have Anthony Davis and LeBron James, two top 5 players. So I was just like, how is that better than that Cleveland team he brought to the first finals? Like, what? Huh?
Yeah,
No.
it's the LeBron stands, you know what I'm saying? The LeBron stands because, like, when the season started, like, oh, we got Danny Green, the best 3D player in the league, you know what I'm saying? And we got and then Kuzma, the next up and coming, blah, 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 blah. And we got this and we got that. And then now, it's
They're
just the LeBron
bums.
stand. Yeah, they're bums now. LeBron did it on himself. He put everybody on his back when LeBron can have a great game and the Lakers will still lose. So you know what I'm saying? There's other players that made the Lakers great, not LeBron.
I mean, he had a great game tonight, and give them mad props. Him and Anthony Davis did their thing. Rajon Rondo was fantastic. They shut down Tyler Harrow, had a really bad game. They were shutting him down. Jimmy was still solid, but I think playing all those minutes that he had to play, the guy was playing like 45 minutes every game or more. In that sixth game or the fifth game, he played what was it? It was 47 out of 48 minutes.
Yeah, he
So
played basically the whole game, man. He couldn't walk after the game.
yeah, and I give that dude mad props too because that's just nuts, insane. He had to do it without Dragic and without Bam for a couple games, and he was the only thing keeping that team going. So I give all my mad respect to the Heat, and I'll say this though: that team is set for a while. They got a lot of good young players. Bam Adebayo to me has already become one of the best big men. Tyler Harrow's on up and coming. I know you don't like Duncan Robinson, but man, what he did in Game 5, like that's what he does. He's obviously not a great defender. He's a liability, but the dude can shoot, and you
Yeah,
need
he
that, right?
true.
You need that in this NBA. So you have other defenders on the team that make up for him, like Jimmy and Bam when they're out there, and even Crowder. So they have a good enough young defense right there that can help out. And then Harrell, Nunn, and Robinson, I love as young guys. And if Dragic comes back for one more year, this team's going to be something to watch out for in the East. I don't think it's just going to be Boston and Toronto. I think Miami's actually on the up and coming, and Spoelstra doesn't give enough credit, but that dude has become a really good coach.
Yeah, he always been a good coach. He always been a good coach. LeBron had the most success with him as coach. They like to throw that narrative LeBron never had a Hall of Fame coach and never had this. But you know what I'm saying? When he finally listened to the coaching staff and fell in line with the system, those Heat team was unbeatable.
I mean, I think he just always got the bias of he's Pat Riley's like puppet. He's not really coaching the team. He's just doing what Pat tells him. But actually, like what I've seen since LeBron has left, what he's done with the players that are on there, and even this team this year, just like man, that guy can coach, and he puts his hard work in there, and it shows off on the court with how his team plays.
Yep, most definitely. Yep, and then wrapping up on baseball, the Astros, a team that should have made the playoffs, a team that was known for cheating or got caught cheating, a team that was under 500, are now the Final Four against Tampa Bay. And then on the other side, we got the Atlanta Braves versus the Dodgers. So who you got winning it all?
Well, I mean, before the playoffs started, I have the Dodgers and the Rays as my World Series. I was so wrong on everything else. I'll say that my picks were terrible, but I did not have the Astros. I did not have the Braves. I actually had both of them getting knocked out in the wild card round, so that didn't work out for me. But I did have the Dodgers. I did have the Rays. It is gonna suck really bad though if these Astros make it to the World Series, man. It's going to be like one of the most 2020 things of this whole year.
Yeah, even if they win the whole World Series, and then it'd be like, so there's a lot of people saying, does this count or that counts, or is it asterisk year? So my take
Everything's
on
metrics.
yeah,
Everything.
my take on basketball, you restarted the season, automatic asterisk. My take on soccer, football, whatever you want the proper terminology for it. You restarted the season, automatic asterisk. My take on baseball, you have a team that in a normal year would never make the playoffs. The Astros dominating the playoffs. So obviously, baseball gets an asterisk. The only thing that's playing like a regular season, saying they're still playing all their games to this point. There might be some changes down the road because of
Well,
COVID.
with all the stuff that's been happening lately, yeah, we'll have to
Right.
see.
Right now. But currently is the NFL. They didn't have preseason, but no one really cares about preseason. But as far as the regular season, been on track. As far as the payoff, it's scheduled to be on track. So as long as that stays intact, you're saying they're the only one that will get excused for an asterisk. But even the NHL, who the Tampa Bay Bolts won, asterisk.
No, anything this year really, yeah, that didn't start and didn't have a stop, then yeah, you have to put an asterisk on it, like it or not. You, as a fan of any of those teams or as a player, yeah, you still can be happy you won. I'm not saying you shouldn't. It shouldn't take anything away from that. But in the record books, they'll all have asterisks on them because it wasn't a regular season. It wasn't what normally happens. So it has to. That just, if anybody doesn't think that, that's just asinine, really.
Yeah.
Like, you have to put one on it, and that's just the way it is. You still get the title, you still get the championship thing, you still get your rings and all that. But in the record books, when people look back, yes. Does it diminish it a little bit? Sure. It also, like, this has never happened before, so you can look at it that way. You won in a bubble. That's never been done before in most of these sports. So, very different kind of tournament run way, like an AAU tournament was for most of these. So, it wasn't the same as like a regular NBA Finals, not as many off days. So, a little bit different. And then you had people opting out. Weird year with everything that was going on, people's head maybe not in it. It's a strange season. Still be happy, still root for your teams. I was still rooting for my team. White Sox would have won. I would have been happy as hell, but I would have known that it has an asterisk,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But yeah, it's still sports. Still enjoy them. Just know it's 2020. It's going to have an asterisk on it for the most part.
Right. Right. Yeah. Just thinking back on this NBA Finals, if Miami would have done the impossible and won, everybody would have claimed asterisk. You know what I'm saying? Because Miami should have never been there.
I mean, if Lakers people aren't claiming asterisks, they're out of their mind. I'll say that right now. Like, if you're not.
Yeah, the Lakers going to enjoy it. And the Laker fans are more reasonable and more sensible. But it's those LeBron stands, not even fans, LeBron stands that they just put LeBron on the pedestal. You know, saying he could be, if he played football, he'd be the greatest whatever. If he played baseball, he'd be first of all, baseball is one of the hardest.
Baseball is hard.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest things you could play.
Could I see him playing football? Sure. The dude has a body like DK Metcalf out there, and he's athletic as hell, and he could run, and he could jump. But if he didn't play football, really, I don't know. But baseball, no. Ask Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Because you know what they say. Oh, LeBron's built different. He could do anything. He's the most It's one thing to be athletic, but man, baseball is so much that goes into it.
You only got to be good 30% of the time, and that's considered good. And even now, it's getting even lower. People don't even care about 300 anymore. They want you to hit like 250, and they're okay with it. So it's like they want 25% of the time, and they're thinking, that's good, guys. I appreciate that. So, there's not many jobs where if you do 25% of a good job, that's considered great. But that's how hard baseball is, how hard to hit a baseball is.
Yep. Yeah, that's crazy. And
but if whatever they want to say, man, there's asterisks. Who cares? If your team won, be happy. That's what I'm saying. Be happy. Your team won a title. It's still hard. It was still a hard thing to do. Just know that it's going to have an asterisk because it was a weird season. It wasn't normal.
Yep. So now we got to look forward for the Bulls. The NBA draft is coming up in November. Elections coming up in November. Next gen system is coming up. The Xbox and PlayStation coming up in November.
November is going to be a crazy month.
Yep. And my prediction is COVID talks will end in November.
Well, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I don't have an opinion on that. I don't know if it's going to go away that quickly, but maybe. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in November, so that'll be something that we will come back to for
Yes.
sure.
Yep. 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 You have any? That's pretty much it for Chicago side of sports. You have any closing? Oh, one more thing. There was Cappy Poindexter was missing, but now I heard she was okay. She used to play for the Chicago Sky. What was upsetting that is she's a WNBA player, saying a known WNBA player, and no news media or ESPN or whatever reported the situation. It was just basically reported by her friends and family and WNBA players on Twitter and by the WNBA Players Association, which is mind-boggling to me.
I didn't hear anything about it, so yeah, I agree with you. I didn't see anything about it, so yeah, that's kind of weird. I have heard that name before.
Yeah, yeah, she played for the. Well, I get a lot of heat for what you call it for watching the WNBA, but it's very entertaining basketball. It's actually more entertaining than the NBA because the NBA kills me with all the antics and all the flopping and all the crying. Like there's less crying, there's less flopping, there's less of that extra stuff. And the WNBA is great, it's just great fundamental basketball.
Yeah, I'm not gonna 100% hop on board just yet, but I mean, I kept up on it a little bit when we had Della Don, like I said.
Yep.
Then
Well,
we
we
got.
got Vandersloot. Vandersloot is great.
I
She
know. I watched her. She looked pretty good, and it'll get me a little bit more interested when next season starts, maybe. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's hard to find where they're on.
Yeah, yeah. That's another thing too. They don't get enough airtime. They don't get enough airtime. Shout out to the Storms because Stewie looked great out there again, dominating. Sue Bird breaking records. She's like I don't know, like 17 seasons in, breaking assist records in the finals and in games. It's just ridiculous what she was doing out there at her age.
That is pretty nuts. I would have guessed that she wasn't even still playing.
Yep, yep, yep. That's it. Any closing remarks?
I got one. I do want to commend the NBA for how well they ran the bubble. It was something that people need to look at, because who knows what's going to happen in the coming months or this year or next year. You might have to do more bubbles for other sports. So if you guys could take a book out of it, the NBA and even NHL, I don't remember them having any issues either. So the two teams that ran the bubbles or the WNBA, I think they ran a bubble too, right?
Yes, they were in a bubble as well.
So
Yep.
these three leagues, I didn't see anything happen once they got in the bubble. So if it's something you have to do, so you don't have to make funky schedules and change games, cancel games, figure out bubbles might be the best way to look, even if it's a bigger one. Now I know like baseball and football have some bigger rosters, and it might be a little bit more tough, and even college football. But the way that those three were run, didn't see no tests, no games had to get canceled except for the ones that they walked off on, which I respect that. But they didn't have to cancel any for COVID. Nobody was popping up with no COVID, no nothing. So I commend David, or I'm sorry, not David Stern, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, and the other ones as well. I mean, Adam Silver's the one I want more follow because he was the first one to start of those three. And
Adam
yeah.
Silver runs the WNBA as well.
Oh, does he really? I didn't
Yeah,
even know that. Well, good for
yeah, yeah.
him. Then that makes a little more sense. I think he's the best commissioner in all of sports too. But just how they were ran, like that's what we might have to do. Take note, look at what they did, talk to him, ask him things that he did to make it run well. And you guys are all sports, you're all making money off of the same thing. He would be more than willing to help, I would guess. So we might have to do that. And I just think they ran it really well, and I appreciate it. I love sports. It helps me get through days, that's what I like to concentrate on, get my mind off of some of this other stuff that's going on. So thank you very much, Mr. Silver. And I think the bubbles were fantastic.
Yep, yep, yep. And yeah, that's all I got on that. We're out.